that skill to fall back on. You used the analogy of the military training. Most people don't rise to the occasion. You said they shrink to their training. All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Middleton Methods podcast, where you get to be a fly on our wall, gain practical tips, insights, and laugh at our expense. And this is another week that we have a phenomenal interview ready for you. We have a very, very special guest with us, Wes Schaeffer. As you know, we have always talked about the underlying thing on most of our episodes is we talk a lot about marketing, right? We own a marketing company for the last 12 years. And we talk a lot about the importance of communication and sales skills. So who better to have on the podcast than the sales whisperer and host of the sales podcast? So you guys are definitely in for a treat this week with Wes. I'm looking forward to going through this interview and having him drop some knowledge on us. So Wes, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit. I didn't realize just how many episodes. You have some phenomenal interviews that you've done. So why don't you just give us a brief background of where you've come from, and we'll take it from there.
Man, you were doing a great job. Just keep with what you were doing, and just feel free to ad lib, and everyone, they'll believe it because they heard it on the internet.
Right.
So yeah, man, I've sales since I got out of the Air Force, 1997.
Wow.
And I've had Sales Whisperer since 2000. Start laying the foundation for it really in 05 into early 06. And yeah, 11 years now, going strong. A lot of ups and downs. But I knew when I got out of the force that I want to be paid according to my production, according to my worth, the value created, not just time and grade, right? Not just based on tenure. And so I walked away from a lot of security. I was a graduate of the Air Force Academy. So, when you go to the academy, they tend to want to keep in, right? Because even back then, 25 years ago, they spent about $1 million on our education, or $250,000. I don't even more. It was a lot of money. And so I stayed in 20 years, no problem. And had a comfortable life, but I wanted to get out and mix it up. And so if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't be here on your podcast now.
Tell me a little bit about what that was like. Why was that uncomfortable? We talk a lot about the American dream being a scam. We talk a lot about a lot of our audience is the professionals or the early entrepreneurs. They get to a point where they're, maybe getting that, quote, 6-figure income, and they look around, and today in, 2017, that's not really all it's cracked up to be. You wind up being, it's not all it's cracked up to be. So a lot of our audience is either new into business and or looking at, all right, what can I start doing on the side? What are the principles of entrepreneurship? And I just want to help share yet another story of someone who walked away from something that was what many would consider secure. You and I both know that security is really only what we created. It doesn't really exist. But what was that like, and why, with such with the education background and the tenure that you put in, why wasn't that enough?
Yeah, it depends on how you're wired, right? And how do you define success? How do you define failure? How do you define fear? So, because you're right, there's no guarantee. Even pilots in the military, of course, some of them got cut loose, after the drop in the first Gulf War. So there really is no guarantee. And even my classmates that I got friends retiring now for 25, and I mean, their retirement pay is $30,000 or $40,000 a year, somewhere in that range. So, you can't live on that. Maybe, right? Maybe if you were really good with your money and you bought an investment house and you paid it off over 25 years, and you lived in a low, an affordable state, California, and so maybe in Idaho, right, and your house is paid off, and you got $30,000-$40,000 a year coming in. You can go part-time job. You could be a PE teacher. You could go economics or something, or math at the local high school or junior college, make 40 grand a year, and you'd be all right. And there's nothing wrong with that. Part of me sometimes wishes I was living in the, with a 4x4 truck, no internet connection, and just read and write. So,
Right.
Part a little envious of that life. But people listen to this, they're not wired away. And so after going to the academy, I didn't go there with a clear-cut goal. I went because I was recruited to play football. My family didn't have any money. I couldn't go into college. And so I knew I could get a free education and play football. So then I just kind of took it one step at a time, right? I just had a little bit of a rebellious, wandering spirit, right? And I knew it's like, okay, I'm not cut out for that, 20, 25 years of playing. So, and looking around, and because I didn't get money, I was motivated by money, right? And I was good with it. I didn't waste it. And so I began investing right out of college, and I was looking for that. I found a good guy who's lucky that helps my money. He was a stockbroker. I stayed in touch. That was my first job out of the military. I love the financial markets and the potential there. So it didn't work out, and that's a whole nother story. But that's what me down that path. And then working in corporate America, I did well. I won trips, but there was always politics going. There's always jockeying for position. The number one salesperson, or just because you were over quota doesn't mean keep your job. I mean, I got let go in 2004. I was working with a technology firm, and after the .com collapse, I hung on for 3 years, like 8 layoffs, 10 reorgs, but I still got let go, even though I was over quota. There's just money there to keep us. So, after going at multiple times, I was like, heck, I can go do my own. I can go be unstable on my own.
Oh, right. At least you're in control of your own destiny, right?
Yeah. So yes, we would get a paycheck. I mean, I quit corporate America. I think I made like 180 grand that year. And
that's tough to walk away from.
That's a pretty good living, right?
Yeah.
Even in California. But still, I want my own thing. And that's been hard, and work with entrepreneurs every day. And many of them are struggling. I think it's harder to do than the world lets you on. But
what's the alternative?
What's your goal? What's your vision? Like they say, if the why is big enough, you'll figure out the how. Right. So I just didn't want somebody telling me what to do.
Yeah, that seems to be a pretty common theme, right? Yeah, I definitely didn't want I didn't want to wake up, 20 years later, invested in a company, for them to tell me that they were making the decision to lay me off, right? That's a lot to invest in somebody else's dreams instead of building your own.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and I was laid off 3 times in 2 years, twice birthday.
Wow.
So I've told that story many times. And I was on unemployment when 2 of my kids were born.
Wow.
So yeah, there's no guarantee out there, and fortunately, my wife and I were good with our money, live below our means. We always could route. What happens is people get into trouble because you buy into the dream. I remember years ago when I was in sales, and our manager said, don't let other people commission check.
Say that one more time.
Okay. You don't let others spend your commission check.
Okay.
And what he meant by that, well, making great money, you should, buy a Cadillac. You should buy a Mercedes. You should buy a big house. You should go buy that Rolex you've always wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Stop telling me how to use my money.
All right.
But what happened, people buy into it. And so then you don't have that rainy day fund. And, hosting the sales podcast now for over 4 years, I've interviewed a lot of people, and the common thread with all these entrepreneurs has been they had saved for a rainy day, right? They had the means and the ability to walk away from something secure and have a little bit of a runway while they built their new thing, because it's tough. There's always that against the wall, gun against the head marketing. Some people need that, but most people don't. Most people work under the pressure. There's an old thing we learned in the military. When it hits the fan, right? Most people you don't rise to the occasion. You shrink to the level of your training. Okay, and most people don't have anything. And if you've never owned your own business, you're not trained on what to do when you got to make a sale to pay the bills.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you can't dive into that kind of pressure, then save your money. Right. I mean, we run around both versions, right? The American dream and climbing the corporate ladder and owning your own business and living your own life and, make all you sleep. All those are lies to some degree.
Right.
Okay. A very good friend of mine, a guy I consider a friend, a mentor as well. He's never been on his own. He stayed in technology sales his whole life. I've known him for 17 years. He is extremely successful. He's great at it, right? He works with big companies. They do stupid stuff. He's changed jobs a few times. But, I mean, talk specific money, but I know he makes $250,000 a year, every year at a minimum, without bonuses. And he lives within his means. He's got twins. He's got 3 kids. One's already in college. His twins graduate this year. They live in the same house in Louisiana. He can call his own shots.
Right.
He can do whatever he wants, whether it's keep working, get off the road. Now, so he has to travel, right? He's home a good bit. He doesn't have his choice of boss, but he's managed. He's learned how to play the game.
Yep.
And because that's true in anything. Yes, I have money, but I got to deal with people and employees and contractors, and people steal from you, and people will threat suits. They'll file chargebacks. They'll talk smack on you online. So you got to, do you fight that? Do you ignore it? Do you sue them for libel? I mean, all things you got to consider.
Right.
So there's, don't buy into the extremes, one side or the other.
Right.
It is what you make of it. There's a lot of benefits to having a job. If you what you do, if you like the people, if you can set your own schedule degree, or you have a very short commute and great bits. And I mean, so there's pros and cons to each. You could always have your own job and start a little side gig. You're an author, maybe you're an artist, and freelance consulting. Because the nice thing is when you are and your time is truly limited, and you start a little side gig, you can be very choosy with your clients.
Right.
Okay. Let's
say not in that survival mode.
Yeah. Hey, I don't know. You like doing carpentry and woodwing and stuff. And you'll build cabinets. Maybe you'll do like the crown molding and fancy design in a home, and you want to get paid a minimum of $10,000 a job, right? Let's just throw out a number, and get some cheap prospect, and if you can't market yourself, if you don't come up differently than everyone else, then the only way your products can differentiate you from your competitors is your price.
Right.
Okay, so you better learn how to market and differentiate yourself. So with that being said, if you want 10 grand and somebody and the job, you got to do them at nights, you're going to have to do them on weekends, so customer comes to you and says, hey, I need this done in a week and I'm only going to pay $5,000. When desperate, hungry entrepreneur starting us that doesn't know how to market, so you don't have a lot of leads, you'll take that job. And instead of getting paid up front, they say, look, I'll give you 10% down and I'll give you the rest after I sign off on it, right? And then they get picky. They're like, well, this ain't off and that paint doesn't quite match and I can see some there. We're not paying you, right? So now you're hosed. You got accounts receivable. Now do you file on their home? I mean, all these things. And most don't learn that in a book. They learn it by suffering through that. Okay. Right. But when you're an employee and you only have a limited amount of time, you can look that person in the eye and say, thank you for calling me. I would love to have, it's such an honor that you found me. But here's the deal. Right. I charge $10,000. It'll take me 3 weeks, not one. I need 50% down. I need 25% after week one. Right. I need 2 more percent after week 2, and you'll give me 5%, the final 5% after we sign off on it. Yeah. If you like those terms, I'd be happy to refer you to someone else. Mm-hmm. Okay. So what happens is it forces you to be brave. It forces you to be strong. It forces you to negotiate to your own benefit. Okay. You're negotiating from a position of strength. Now, the prospect doesn't know what your strength is. Your strength, you might see as a weakness, right? You go, this is a limitation. That's why I got to do it. But it can be your strength in this negotiation because you just can't do it. Mm-hmm. Right? You only have a certain amount of time. You got to keep your day job. Right. So now you get these clients when they pay you your full price. Because all people, if I got this iPhone, whether I buy it new from Apple at full price or I buy it refurbished from Apple 6 months after it comes out, or AT&T is running a special and it's buy one, get one free if you sign your agreement. Okay, this widget works the same, whether I pay full price or 50% off. But you and me as human beings are not widgets. If I let you beat me up and I accept a 50% off deal, I'm just not going to do the same work. Right. I think it's almost psychologically impossible. Mm-hmm. You begrudge those people, but the reality is you let them put you around. Right. Okay. But when you get your full price, those people pay that $5,000 down. They're willing to wait 3 weeks instead of 1. You're now happy to work with them. You're going to go the mile. Yep. To make sure that they're happy. So what happens is you now do a better job. They now get what they bought and a little more because you're going to over deliver because you're happy. Well, now they're happy. They're going to take pictures and everybody that comes in, they're going to say, so awesome. Yeah, we hired Brandon and they were fantastic. And man, I'd highly recommend them. What happens on the other way? What happens if you to do it in a week and for only $5,000, only $1,000 down? You're mad. You don't get it done in time. Right. You kind of in corners, literally, right? And they don't pay you, so it doesn't get finished. And the family over. Oh, who did this? Oh, that Middleton. Oh my God, I would not recommend them. They were terrible. They didn't finish. Okay. Nobody hears the whole story, that the customer was cheap. They beat you up. Right. They don't do that. But you're now bad mouth. You get a 1-star review on Yelp. They bad mouth you on Facebook. And you get that to over. So
there's a couple of
nothing
things.
is good or bad, right? It's just what you do with it.
Right. A couple of minutes ago, I want to make sure we don't brush over it. You said how basically it's important to, if you're going to invest in anything, investing in yourself, in your training, being able to have that skill to fall back on. You use the analogy of the military training. Most people don't rise to the occasion. You said they shrink to their training. Is that what you said?
Right.
So that training can be in the form of education, workshops, books, right? Of course. But what you just described with the cabinetry scenario, it's also that real world training, that real world experience of just going, like taking action with that thing, whether you're doing it on the side, nights and weekends, because what you're going to learn there and how you're going to grow and strengthen those skills when you are ready to make that leap, or when you do, get put under pressure, you're going to have those skills and training to fall back on, which with our story, I don't think I've shared this with you, or maybe I did at our last mastermind. I wasn't really good at anything when I first became an entrepreneur, but I had a background. I had a door-to-door sales job where it was commission only. And the only thing that I got my leads, and I had to go and door-to-door complete strangers and sell them water softeners. And I made $1,000 commission every time I did. And that year that I worked for that company was probably, they're investing in you. They're sending us the sales trainings. Every morning we had sales trainings. That sales training has been, we said 9 out of 10 businesses fail, so start 10. That was my first entrepreneurial advice. And in every business that we started, whether it's real estate or the marketing agency or some of the other things that we did early on, that's that sales skill, that experience of selling door to door, selling over the phone, is invaluable, right? It's never going to be a training or a skill that you don't need to use in any business, and for that matter, in any corporate position. Like you've got to be able to have those skills. So I know you have.
Well, they always, like, you heard the saying in the Bible, right? When more are gathered in my name, then there I am. Well, it's also when 2 or more people are gathered, a sale is made.
Right.
Okay. You're selling me on your podcast. I have to sell you on when am I available. You go to a restaurant, they're selling you on what the special is. You go to the restaurant and say, I would like to substitute a salad instead of fries. They go, well, that's $1.99 extra. Say, I don't want to pay $1.99 extra. Can you just substitute that and not, right? Or they say, here's our special, blah, 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 no substitutes. And you say, you know what? I want the special, but I want a substitute.
Right.
I want to add bacon to that, or I want to replace the chicken with tuna. So,
right.
So a sale is made, right? If you have kids, it's like they're selling you on staying up 30 minutes later, a dessert. So everything you do, a sale is being made. Gas station advertised. One is any less across the street or whatever, but the other is same price whether you pay cash or. A sale is always happening. So it's just like in poker. If you're at the table, you don't know who the chump is. It's you.
Right. Yeah, that's so true.
So when you go out into life, if you don't know anything about afraid of sales, if you don't believe you're a salesperson, then you're being sold.
Right.
You just are.
Yep.
You might as well embrace it. It's just like a friend of mine from me. He was a pilot, a combat pilot, and now he became a correspondent. He's been embedded with Ukraine for over a year.
Wow.
And it's like those, the Ukrainians, we don't even really know there's a war going on, right? There's a war going on. So it's like those Ukrainians didn't choose to have a war, but they're in one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what are you going to do about it? Oh no, I didn't want this war. So you meanie heads just go away. Take your tanks and y'all just go back to Russia.
All right.
or you pick up a fight, or
Right.
you can you know, raise your flag and raise your white flag, render. Okay. So in business, same thing. You can say a sale isn't being made. That's fine. You're going to get bold.
Right.
Okay. Or you can just look around, recognize the situation, take it for what it is, and say, fine, I didn't choose this.
Mm-hmm.
Make the best of it. And that means you better learn about sales, and in sales, you better learn about negotiation. You better learn about buying. People buy, because we as salespeople, it's not good to make a good product.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You have to market it, you have to sell it.
Yeah.
So we have to adjust how we sell to match how the prospect wants to buy. And our prospects will tell us how they want if you pay attention. It really can't be that easy.
Right.
And that's why you better master it, because in sales, it's a zero-sum game. You know, if, you got the NFL playoffs coming up, or, any of the sports, those guys get paid whether they win the Super Bowl or not in second, right? If, and then the score could be 67 to 66.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And you still get paid for going to the Super Bowl. Right. But if you 1% better than me in our negotiations with our prospects, then you get 100% of the commission.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not good enough to be pretty good.
Right.
Okay. Pretty good get you run out of whatever it is you're doing.
So I
So
know
great at selling.
I know there's there can be a negative connotation to sales, right? We talk about people selling from their heels, or ethics in selling. And I wanted to ask you kind of about really all of that, but I know that you have kind of like a seven step process. So we have limited time together, and I want to make sure that our audience, whether they're new to selling, or they've only been selling in their corporate job and now they're going to go into something completely different with a new business or a side hustle. What are some specific takeaways when it comes to, I guess, the fundamentals of selling?
Well, you need to understand the root of selling. The word literally comes from a Norwegian word that means serve.
Sir. Ooh,
Yeah.
I like
Okay.
that.
So you and the only difference in persuasion and manipulation is the motivation. Okay. What is the purpose behind it? If I'm creative, if I'm determined, uh, you know, and really get after it to help persuade you, to help convince you to buy from me, but it's in your best, then did I manipulate you, persuade you?
Right.
Okay. And so just like when a woman showers and does her hair and puts on makeup and puts perfume and a sexy dress and goes out to the bar, is she manipulative or is she persuasive?
Right.
Okay. When a guy actually shaves for the first time in a week and finally puts deodorant and finally combs his hair and washes his car and cleans out the beer cans and the McDonald's wrappers and actually washes his car and gets his shoes shined and goes to the bar, is he persuasive, manipulative?
That's good.
Okay. So just putting your best foot forward just so you get a fighting chance. So we all judge a book by its cover.
Right.
So why are you talking with these in the first place? Is it to trick them? Okay. Do you believe in your product? Is it really good for them? And are you recognizing and admitting it's a crowded marketplace? People are confused. And so you have to be persuasive to get the word out, to help them find you who is better than the competition. So if you can't internalize that, because all people ultimately buy is the salesperson, right? They're buying confidence. And so how you make that spec feel
Mm-hmm.
is just about all that matters, right? Assuming your product is good enough to be on the marketplace, but you stand behind it and you support them, then that's enough to win the sale. You need to internalize that, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't believe, Zig Ziglar tells, story. He was basically like a networker, right? It was kind of like Pampered Chef is what he was selling way back. They would go in your home and cook the meal, clean up, and then sell you these pots and pans as cook. And he tells a story of one of his buddies that was really struggling. It was like, do you own a set? And he was like, well, no, times have been tough. My wife's hospital. And, after this and that, and after the car gets repaired, after my wife gets hospital, he's like, no, you're saying all these excuses, which are valid, but because you're accepting them from yourself, you're going to accept them from your prospect.
Right.
He said, sit down right now and write out an order for your own set of cookware. Okay. And once he bought in to his own product, his sales took off. He didn't do anything different, but it's that intangible. It's that thing we can't put our finger on.
Right.
And our prospects can detect that, and that leads by or not.
We like to call that being a product of the product. Like
you're a product of the product.
If you're not a customer of the own product, if you're not a believer in the own product, it's virtually impossible to have that confidence and be persuasive, because in the back of your mind, right, you feel like you're tricking or manipulating or being too pushy.
Right. Yep. It's like, a friend of mine, he now works for Ford. That's the tough thing of being in the car business. Mercedes, now he's with Ford, but he drives on. I'm like, how do you do that? Like, do you park like a block away, take an Uber, or walk over? I mean, I don't know, man. I would want to drive what I'm selling, but I did sell a mobile home, and I did not live in a mobile home, so I guess it's
right. Right. That's funny. Great. Well, I love to bring this around to family for a second, because especially, the fact you have 7 children, I can imagine more than any training that you've taken and the experience you've had in your business, they must be some of the best sales training, overcoming objections and so on that there has to be. So what's like one of the just for fun, what's one of the biggest things that you've maybe learned about sales as a father of 7 that maybe you didn't know before you had that little army of your own?
I don't know if I didn't know it, but seeing all the time the creativity, the persistence, and I mean, I'm 47 now and I got a 3-year-old. And so I appreciate my kids more, but seeing this 3-year-old, right? Because my first son was born when I was 27. So I was 30 when he was 3. Now I'm 47 when my baby is 3.
Okay.
So I have a different perspective on life. I can kind of see what she's doing, she's coming from, and she's just unstoppable when she wants something, right? But all my kids have been that way. But seeing how like they're all so different, 7 kids, and they're still so on what motivates them. Who goes to bed early, gets up early, who's a night owl, who gets things done early, who waits minute, who's very outgoing, who's reserved. Seeing how they look at the world helps remind me, like looking at my prospects, and just because 2, mid 40s white males both drive up in a Mercedes doesn't mean they have anything in common, at least in how they buy, right? You can't judge a book by its cover. So because my kids, especially as they've gotten older, and I saw like, you have this vision. Oh, I see my kid. Oh, Oh, he's definitely going to be an engineer. Oh, he's definitely going to be a football player. And you see as they grow old, like they change roles. Oh, that one's a creative one. That one's more analytical. Oh my gosh. And you can't place your wishes and wants on somebody else.
Right.
Right. You gotta meet them where they are, ask good questions. Because the other thing is whoever's asking the questions is in charge of the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The waiter comes up, well, yeah, would you like to hear about the specials? Did you save any room for dessert? Which I think is a terrible question, but when the police pull you, sir, you know why I pulled you over? Where are you going this evening? Whoa, you're just like, you're nervous. I hope I have my registration. And do you mind stepping out of the car? Right? They're asking the questions. You're sitting on the stand, right? Raise your right hand. And, where were you evening of, December 2nd at 10:43 p.m.? You're like, oh my gosh, asking the questions. They're in charge of the conversation. So
Right.
you get to do the same thing. Mommy, can I have some ice cream? And Mom, can I go out? Do I have to do my homework now? Can I go play first and come back? So
Right.
you got to be able to turn that around and take all that conversation. But
So
watching
tell me how
kids
you do that. Tell me how you do that.
do it with kids or with
with
people in
with
sales.
with kids, because I feel like they, as soon as they could talk, they were instant salespeople, and I want to keep that
They
spirit
are.
alive, because I feel like as we get older, they that that can that little fire can be fizzled out. I don't know if it's society or what it is that kind of uh, takes that out, but it's definitely a born, like, innate
Yeah,
character.
I mean the sad thing is I think it's the parents and the family that get it out of them, unfortunately,
Okay.
and we do it unknowingly. Oh, you want to be a doctor? Why do you want to be a doctor? You're not smart enough to be a doctor. You're really at school. How much money? You know how much money that costs? You don't have that kind of money. You should really, be more realistic. Be a nurse. It's like,
Trying to
they,
protect them.
they eat people up.
Hmm.
And so by asking questions, though, you can engage the brain. And with kids, actually, we can take shortcuts because we're their boss, right? Said
Right.
no. I said no ice cream. Go brush your teeth. And you know what? Now, no cartoons either. Just go. You're
Right.
going to bed early. I mean, so kids will get on your last nerve times, and you will resort to that sometimes.
Right.
So
For sure.
I'm not above that by any stretch of the imagination, but I do try to engage the brain a little more, especially as they get older, and you can start to their reasoning and logic starts to click. And if they want something, it's like, why do you want that? Do you have who's going to pay for that? If I get it for you, I gotta get it for everybody else. Or if I don't get it for everybody else, what do I say to them? Right? I make them answer the question and think through it.
Sounds like
You know,
you're teaching them an exercise of putting themselves in your shoes, right? Or whoever's asking the other questions, right? You're making them almost, it's like in marketing, right? With some of the best marketers are just really good at putting themselves in their prospect shoes and being able to, empathize, or being able to see the
that's
product
number one.
service.
That's the number
Yeah.
one trait for a professional person. I have a whole system I call it the Better Prospecting System, and it's BER. It stands for bonding, empathy, trust, and rapport. Empathy means you can put yourself in their shoes. You can see things from their perspective. Okay. In any type of debate, like if you ever did debate school or watch debate, the you want to be able to state your opponent's um, perspective and talking points better than they can, because if you can, then you can counter them. Okay, because you understand it. So that's a form of empathy in a way, right? But it's
Mm-hmm.
we're able to relate, we can anticipate, and then diffuse any objection before it comes up. I'd rather address and diffuse than overcome it.
That's good.
Okay. And that comes from empathy, from insight. People have a big misnomer about the military. They think we just want to go out and just blow everything up and destroy everything and kill everybody. No, we're the ones that might get hurt or killed. We go up with overwhelming force and surround them and just make them quit. The purpose of war is not to destroy the enemy. It is to take away their will to fight. Okay, that's why ambushes are so effective. You can totally destroy them, but you want to surround them, put them in a situation like, look, we got you. Just quit. Guns down, turn yourself in. And so what we want to do in sales, we want to surround them. We want to take away their will to fight, right? And not because we're strong-arming, because we've thought of every angle. Just like in the sports, it's like, who's the quarterback? Is he a runner? Is he a drop back passer? A running back? Is he a beast? Is he a power guy? Is he a finesse guy? Is he great out of the backfield? What kind of defenses have? Can we run on them? Can we throw deep on them? Blah blah blah. And they come up with a game plan ahead of time. So you want to think of every angle, right? Even punt returns, your kick returns. You analyze everything and prepare for it so you're ready. That's where it goes back to, when the pressure on, you don't rise to the occasion, you fall back to the level of your training. And that's, as entrepreneurs, it's too easy to sit home alone and lick your wounds and not practice and rehearse. I've been doing jujitsu now almost a year, on 4 to 6 days a week. And, little bitty guys beat my butt every single day, and it's frustrating, but I can't get better unless fight little guys, tall, skinny guys, tall, fat guys, short, fat guys, super strong guys, weaker but faster guys, better cardio. So my game gets well-rounded by going against all these different people. But in business, you want to sit home alone and figure stuff out. You're going to watch a YouTube video. I watch YouTube videos, jiu-jitsu matches. But again, when the pressure's on, I don't remember how to do those fancy moves that I watched last night because I didn't train on them. I fall back a level of training. And as a new white belt, my level is not very good. So more people beat me, smaller people.
Do you have some recommended training for sales? Like, what's some of your favorite, or even some of your favorite of obviously you have tons of training and courses.
They got to come to me, man. I'm my favorite. Come on. What kind of question is that? I've interviewed a lot of good guys, a lot of my old and new favorites. I've had Tom Hopkins on.
Oh yeah,
his stuff is still timeless. I've had Anthony Parinello selling to Vito. If you're on phones and making outbound calls, which still exists and is still needed, he's very good. I've had them both on my podcast. I had Oren with a K. He wrote Pitch Anything. That's a book. I read that. Yeah. I want to say 2010-ish. I came out a little before that. Spin Selling, Neil Rackham, and those guys, still a very valid book, very valid methodology. It's a good understanding of asking good questions that spin, situation, problem, implication, need, payoff. That acronym, very applicable. I've had a lot of good people on over the years. And so I'll listen to Zig Ziglar, old podcasts, recordings. He never goes out of style. The fundamentals, I think, matter now more, even with the internet, social media, because they're literally the new under the sun. Things that people are telling you now, just wrapping it in a new package. It's Facebook ads, it's Google Display, it's video ads, whatever. The underneath it, connecting with the human being, that never changes.
Yeah, so true. Awesome. Well, what actions would you like our listeners to take? They're in their job or they're in their new business and they're like, I know I need to get better at selling. I understand I understand this is area I need to grow in. What actions would you say that they take in order to really level up their sales persuasion? I really love how you just said the difference between persuasion and manipulation. That's great. But yeah,
Yeah.
what action would
Several things. One is um, unsubscribe from the 8.6% of the stuff you're getting. You know, you if
why
you
is that?
can't well, if you can't even read the stuff you're subscribed to, how the heck are you going to apply it? And if you can't apply it, how are you going to master it?
Mm,
Okay, so just like jujitsu, I don't go to 18 different jujitsu schools. I go to one.
mm-hmm.
When I'm in a lot of golf, I would hire a golf pro for a series of lessons, and I stayed with that golf pro until I outgrew. Okay, so find someone that resonates with you and follow them. Okay, maybe you follow them for a month, maybe you follow them for 10 years. But this hopping around, subscribing to letters and webinars and everything, I can't tell you how much relief I get. Literally every day I unsubscribe. Now I'm getting spam. I don't know how people get my email. I'm on so many lists. But my inbox isn't closed anymore, which means that time is given back to me. Then I can pick and choose. I can intentionally read something, right? Like in jujitsu, I'm like, if my stand-up game isn't where I'll be, I will focus on the stand-up game. Okay, until I get it to a level that I'm comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if my attacks from the ground aren't good, I focus. Entrepreneurs are like, hey, let me have I'm going to watch a webinar on my left screen on YouTube ads while I goof around on Facebook and hop between a Slack channel on email marketing while I have a book open on my desk about Instagram, while I'm subscribed to a text message series on e-commerce. Great. You're now doing 5 things,
Right.
somewhere between 10 and 42%, which means none of them will get done.
Right.
And then the end of the day, and you can't quit. Oh, honey, I can't go to your game. I'm sorry. Daddy's working on something important, but when I get it all going, then I'll never have to miss the game again. Work until midnight, because once everything calms down and you really know what you got to get done, you go focus and you get that done, but you're doing that between 9 p.m. and midnight. When you could have gotten it done during the day if you weren't, multitasking, doing 5 things to 10 or 20%. So unsubscribe. Unsubscribe. Okay. Look around and say, what do I need? Do I need to get better at selling? Do I need to get better at marketing? Do I need a better e-site? Do I need to develop sequences? Do I have to get better at negotiation, better at hiring or outsourcing or managing or leading my team? Do I need an ops manual? Do I need a better HR manual? Do I need to hire a salesperson? How to recruit, advertise, screen, interview, onboard, train, retain salespeople? Great. I'll go do that.
So just focus on one thing at a time, from one or two trainers at a time.
Yeah. So let's say you want to launch 3 programs, in the next year. Do you get one of them done like a third, and then the next one for a third, and the next one for a third, and then go back and do one for a third, and one for a third, and go back? So now let's say each stage takes a month. So it's 1 month, 3 months, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so at the end of 9 months, you have all 3 launched.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't until month 7 and then 8 and then 9 that they were launched. But if you'd focused on one and it only took 3 months, you'd have one completely at 3 months.
Right.
Earning revenue. Then at the end of 6 months, you have 2 completely and earning revenue.
Yeah,
okay.
or likely even faster, because when you're doing 3 at the same time, it's going to take longer than one at a time.
Exactly. So so when you focus, maybe it only takes you 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It takes 2 months and then 2 months, and now you're at 4 months. Then you're at 6 months. You have all 3 launched instead of waiting for 9 months to get all 3 launched. And so, You got to focus like that, but it's hard. It's hard for an entrepreneur to do that. I struggle with that as well. I'm in masterminds. Like I met youth. I have coaches that I hire to kick my own butt. You know, I'm not immune to this. The reason I know this is because I suffer as well. Okay.
Right.
But maybe I've been longer. I've gotten better at addressing it. So I help others get through the same thing. You know, it's kind of like I could be, you know, an AA counselor, but I never had to go through AA. So maybe I have some empathy and can relate, but usually the person in AA class is someone that been an addict, has gone through, is an alcoholic, and has beaten a year for 5 years, for 10 years. So in the same way, I've kind of beaten some of the issues of an entrepreneur that hold back. So that makes me more qualified to help guide others through the same stages, just like in jiu-jitsu, right? I'm giving to new guys because after 10 months, I've gotten kind of good, certainly better than a rookie. So I can help them. But then I get to the blue belts and the purple belts and the brown belts to help me on others. So it's this constant stream where we're always helping somebody. Say mentors, mentoring mentors. You know, just because you're in one area, right? So I'm not good at jiu-jitsu doesn't mean I'm a bad being. It's just a skill I haven't perfected yet, haven't met. So maybe you're not good at emails. Maybe you're not good at CRMs, good with your e-commerce. Maybe you're not good as a keynote speaker. Okay, great. Someone to help you as a keynote speaker. Develop that skill. Once you nail it, now it's like you got to launch a membership site. Great. Maybe I was great for you to learn to be a speaker and somebody better that'll teach you how to build a membership site. Great. Say goodbye. Give me a hug. Go to your membership site coach. You know, but this dabbling, got to become fanatical about something.
Got it. So focus on, which will help with that, is unsubscribing. Any other actions you would recommend entrepreneur looking for more sales skills?
Yeah. So unsubscribe and then sit in the newfound silence. Okay, listen to your little voice, and then say, "What do I need?" Right. So then you'll know where to go after that. I'd love for you to come to me. You know, thesaleswhisperer.com. I got all kinds of, you know, if you want to learn about taking control of things and asking better questions, it's thesalesagenda.com. Get that, right? But now guess what? Now you're going to be subscribed and else. I'm going to drip on you. Okay. And
you're going to follow up.
Fine.
It sounds much better, right? Follow up.
I'm going to follow, right? I've got systems in place. It's what I do. But I don't want to just be in your inbox.
Right.
Okay. I want you to read and apply and grow. Okay. And then there's my little Ava. She's got the flu, but she's getting better. Now she's the iPad. So this is one of the risks of working from home. Hello, baby.
Do you guys use the timer on it?
I don't know. This is the, I had her on my big iPad. I got an iPad Pro.
Yeah.
Oh, it's dead. I got to charge. Give me 1 minute. Okay. So after you unsubscribe, right, and then you go get thesalesagenda.com, you learn how to set firm appointments, how to reach decision makers, how to take control of that selling opportunity. So then what's that, right? So then how are you perfecting your, how are you, I give you the theory, I give you the strength, but until you practice it, it's like watching a fight on YouTube and then going into an actual competition. Right. It's different. Very. When the money is literally on the line, how you talk on, how you handle the receptionist, how you handle executive assistant, what do you say when you get that decision maker on, how do you show up for that appointment, how do you conclude that appointment, practice all that. You're literally betting your paycheck that you can handle it. And I'll bet my paycheck that if you're going up against me, you will lose. Okay. And so are you willing to bet that? So then, you know, with that, you'll see I've got program like Make Every Sale. the course, makeeverysale.com. It's a monthly membership, near money back guarantee. A ton of resources, 41 videos. I lost count, plus supplemental files, spreadsheets, PDFs, scripts that I give in our private group, live interactive calls with me, not handed off to somebody else, but that takes time. Are you willing to not watch all the football games? Are you to drink less, and instead of going out partying during the, spend an hour, 90 minutes, 2 hours a night, going through videos, work scripts, asking your questions in the group, applying it, failing, coming back saying, I tried this, it didn't work. What happened? Oh, here's the situation. Let me help find that. Go out and do it again. Are you willing to put in that time and that effort? Like I said, just like jiu-jitsu, I'm 225 pounds. I usually have no problem intimidating people physically. And now after 10 months of jiu-jitsu, I'm like, man, I ain't all that good. There's some people out there with like ninja skills that I've been walking. They're like literally like ninjas walking around. People could destroy me, and I never knew they even existed. I just thought it was big and bad and tough. It's like, I was just lucky that I light and just, don't walk around like a diva and off the wrong person, So same thing. So like, are you perfecting the skills? Are you going up against people that are going to make you stronger? Are you willing to go through it? And so, that's what we do in the Make Every Sale program. But you know what you need. Baby steps. Start learning and applying, or jump right into the group. Like I said, it's a month-to-month agreement. If you're in a year, you get 2 months off, 2 months for free, but you still get a money-back guarantee. But until you just totally go in, right, into something, then you're going to be average at best.
Yeah.
And your competition, like we've got a tournament coming up this Saturday, and I'm hoping that my competitors train a little bit of jiu-jitsu, and then go a little bit of boxing, and then go train a little bit of taekwondo. Because in a street fight, they might beat me because they're better, well-rounded. But I'm not signing up for a street fight this weekend. I'm signing up for a jiu-jitsu tournament. So they cannot kick me. They cannot punch face. So I'm hoping that they're dabbling.
Right.
Okay. Because I'm all in on jiu-jitsu. So if I meet a dabbler, I will win, more than not.
Right.
And so, like I said, you're literally betting your check if you're just dabbling in sales.
Yep.
And you didn't go out on your own to dabble.
Yeah. I want to strongly encourage you. Like I said, it was almost by accident that I wound up at at that first sales job. It was commission only. So it was all or nothing. It was survive or not. And I wound up in a Jim Rohn training back in 2003.
Rohn's great.
Yeah. And that kind of set off that just kind of put fire or gasoline on the fire. And I can promise you that we've never been able to do what we've done in business. I would venture to say that I wouldn't be able to be in the marriage that I'm in without being good at sales, right? Because I had to sell this beautiful lady on, choosing me, sticking with me, and I just have to sell her just about every day.
You are schmoozing.
Yeah. Right. So sales, I think it's been referred to as the $10,000 an hour skill. I mean, if you are good at sales, even if you're in a job, there's some of my employees that I wish were better salespeople, because then they could better communicate to me. They could better sell me on picking this tool versus that tool, or this priority project over that priority project. I mean, sales are just so important.
Yep.
And if you are focused on a lot of other things, especially in the world of digital marketing and all the other distractions that are out there, I want to just echo what Wes said. You can't overdo it when it comes to investing in your sales training. So, Wes, I want to thank you for taking the time. I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy forget the business, 7 children. You
And
definitely
with the flu, this is dedication, man.
Right.
This is my love for you and your listeners. And,
we really, really appreciate it. So yeah, if you want to learn more, definitely check out thesaleswhisperer.com. And this has been another episode of the Middleton Methods podcast. Like we say every week, everybody wants to be a good salesperson. Everybody wants to be a good business owner. Everyone wants good marriages and be a good parent. But that stuff doesn't just work, because Wes has given us the great analogies of the Air Force and war. I mean, it really is a war. You have to take control. If you're not working for somebody else, heck, even if you are working for somebody else, you can't leave it up to your employer or the economy or the government to take care of you. And the best weapon you can have in that battle is improving your sales, persuasion, influence skills. So again, thanks, Wes. Like I say every week, take what you want, what you don't want, don't take. We'll see you next week for another episode of the Middleton Methods podcast.